Hi, I'm Cheryl DiPaolo, Director of the Ulster Prevention Council, and I'm here today with Megan Conroy, who is our Community Prevention Specialist. And we're going to talk today about marijuana concentrates or cannabis concentrates. These are highly potent products that are manufactured from leaf marijuana or bud marijuana, which you may be more used to. Some of the products that are made from butane hash oil and create these products are known by different names, and some of them are shatter, wax, crumble, butter, and oil. And these all have to do with just different ways that the product may be manufactured. So these forms of products have really climbed in popularity lately. They're becoming more prominent in popular culture, as you can see here on the cover of High Times magazine. The word dabs being used for these concentrates and it being known as pot's most powerful high, and talks about how to create concentrates and strains and so forth. So here's a form called butter, one of the ones that is commonly known, and it would be more of just kind of a spreadable type of concentrate that would be made through the process from leaf marijuana down to this type of a product. Here's shatter. Shatter looks more like a hard candy and can be used kind of like a hard candy. It would be anywhere from a yellow to a brown in color, but would be easy to break into pieces. This one, ew, is called earwax, and it looks kind of gross, and so we're just going to, enough said about earwax, but it's one of the ways that the product is used. And here's butane hash oil itself, which is also known as BHO, butane hash oil. Hash oil can also be put into capsules and consumed orally in this kind of a fashion in a hash oil capsule. And then also these products are used to make edibles. So you would take the oil usually and make it into an edible product, and they allow the user to ingest the drug by using it. The problem with using edibles is that it really takes a very small amount of the edible, so a dose might be a quarter of a brownie, which is not something that we usually do, sit down and think, oh, I think I'll have half a cookie or a quarter of a brownie. So they are powerful forms of the drug. These forms of cannabis concentrates have THC levels. THC is the active ingredient in marijuana that makes people feel high. A regular bud or leaf marijuana might have anywhere from 5 to 20% THC. These concentrate products are closer to 40 to 90%, and so they're much stronger THC products than what we're used to seeing in a smoked form of marijuana.
Okay, so the extraction process that is used to extract the THC from BHO uses butane, and butane is a highly flammable liquid that gets the plant material out. So the process of burning off the butane, which is called purging, creates butane gas, which is very volatile and heavy. The gas lingers and can result in violent explosions similar to meth lab explosions. Here's a photograph from an explosion in Port Richey, Florida. This was actually, the house had an explosion, the car was outside of the house, so you can see the impact it had, even being outside of the house where the explosion was. There was a baby in the house, and also 2 dogs were killed in this explosion. So this process is very dangerous and can lead to a lot of harm. And here's another example of an explosion in Colorado. You can see how much damage was done by this process that is used to extract the THC. The BHOs can be used either smoked, vaporized, or ingested, as Cheryl was saying. Vaporizers, vape pens, and some e-cigarettes can be used to vaporize the concentrates. Here's an example of a vape pen. This is another example of an apparatus used to ingest the BHO. And these are known as dab tools, which makes it easier for the user to handle the concentrate. And here's another example of a vaping apparatus. These can be easily concealed, and a lot of them you might not even know that the user is ingesting THC. There's really no smell associated with them, especially with the pens. And here's another example. You can see how they're very compact, and it's very discreet that you might not even know that there's no odor involved or anything like that. And here's another example of how these can be pretty easily concealed.
So one of the things that we want to talk about is some retail products and things that are available locally, and also many things are available online that relate to using these types of products that we've become aware of and that we're aware of nationally that would help parents, grandparents, guardians to be aware of some clues that this type of product might be being used. For a lot of the products that we've looked at, I was able to just go online and do searches and find products. And some of them use a lot of humor. You'd like to use humor in their clothing and in referring to things. And so here we have a T-shirt that says "Baking Dabs," and dabs is the usual word for this type of product because it only takes a little dab to get high. And it says, "I'm in the hempire business." So hemp is another reference to marijuana. So just looking for those kind of references. It may not be that this is a young person who's using these products, but it's certainly a reference to cannabis concentrates. Here's another image, and it's an image of an oil rig. And so there are many references to oil or Earl, E-R-R-L, or maybe some more R's and L's, but Earl or oil, because of butane hash oil. So images related to oil rigs can refer to butane hash oil. And in addition to that, the numbers 710, which is oil upside down, so it's a little creative. So where with leaf and bud marijuana, we might see more references to 420 as the time to get high, or April 20th, or 420 kind of means kind of smoke it. 710 refers to oil, so it might also refer to July 10th or time of day. It might look like 7:10 on the clock, and that would be referring to a product that's using a marijuana concentrate made from butane hash oil. And just a couple of other kind of products that are available. We actually have at the Ulster Prevention Council set up a mock teen bedroom where adults can go through and kind of look for the items that indicate use. And so some of these items are in our room, and if you're interested in taking a look at that or booking that particular demonstration, it's lots of fun to toss the room and see if you can find the signs of drug use. In the upper left-hand corner here, we have a hat with a certain symbol on it, and this particular symbol is the logo of a company, which I shall not name because we're not educating youth about these particular things right now, but a symbol of a company that almost always has stash pockets in the clothing in order to contain small amounts of drugs for consumption. Not necessarily dabs, it could be weed, marijuana, or a packet of some other kind of drug, but certainly an indicator for those in the know that this is a place where there could be a stash unit. For instance, in this particular hat, on the top left, there's a zipper compartment in the cap where you can kind of stash whatever you want to stash up there. On the bottom left, it might not be as clear, but it's kind of a beanie cap that has a pocket right up in the top front there's a pocket, and you're able to stash like a dime bag in there, and yeah, it's not obvious because the pocket just blends in with the hat. But it is also from another particular brand that's known for having stash pockets in their clothing wear, and so they would have a pocket. This one on the outside, interestingly, but usually on the inside of the rim of the cap. So we have a lot of items that are available for view that are considered kind of stash items that can be found and used. There are certain brands of shoes that have hidden pockets and so forth. And so if you're interested, and we do not allow anyone under 18 into that particular room to look at the stash items because it is for educational purposes for adults. But those are some of the things that we have available.
So the potency levels in butane hash oil, since they're elevated significantly from bud marijuana, have much more significant psychological and physical intensities. There's been an increase in ER visits from people who have used these substances because of the side effects. These can include paranoia, anxiety, panic attacks, hallucinations, increased heart rate, and blood pressure, since the THC levels are much stronger. The high from one small inhalation of BHO can last for days. It's estimated that one small dab of BHO equals an entire marijuana cigarette. And there's no treatment for this, so if people are going to the hospital because of the symptoms they're experiencing, there's really nothing that they can do for you. It's just a wait to come down from the high that's being experienced from using the BHO.
So I want to talk about the reason why this is so important to us to come and talk about is because one of the main messages of our organization, the Ulster Prevention Council, and all of substance abuse prevention field is that marijuana and THC are damaging to the structure and the function of the adolescent brain. And when I say the adolescent brain, that is anywhere from early adolescence, the age of 12 and 13, all the way through the early 20s into 23 and 24. So the brain develops normally from the back to the front. So a young child is developing in the back of the brain. They're learning to walk and talk and so forth. And as the brain develops from the back to the front, we gain more kind of functions in terms of language development. But the very, very last thing to develop is called the prefrontal cortex. And so in this image, it's the blue that's kind of developing. Right behind the forehead is the prefrontal cortex, and it's the area of the brain that helps us to make good decisions, to act less impulsively, to think things through, to use good judgment. And so for those times with adolescents, I know a lot of times when I talk to parents and they'll say, to their adolescent, but why did you do that? And they say, I don't know. And they really don't know. And part of it is that this lack of maturity in that area of the brain that's going to mature, but it's going to mature through adolescence. If during that time we're introducing THC into the brain and also alcohol damages the structure and function of the teen brain in that same area. And so with the brain not being fully developed, when we introduce THC, especially in these high quantities and high levels, it can have really far-reaching effects that impact areas of functioning for a long time to come, in thinking clearly, in using good judgment. There's a study out of New Zealand, a very good longitudinal study, that showed a drop in IQ points up to about 10 IQ points in chronic marijuana users over the course of time, so between the time that they were teenagers until they were into their 40s and 50s. So it can be some long-term chronic impairments, and that's why it's so important to talk about.
And also with the BHO, The abuse is very new, so there's not a lot of research out there about the long-term effects. We know how traditional bud marijuana impacts the brain, but there's not much out there on these increased potencies, how that might have additional long-term effects. And as with most drugs, most users don't know how it's being created. We have a photo here, someone in a lab, not sure what those tools are, what's being added into that. So there might be corners cut during the development of a product, which could lead to an even more dangerous product. So there is a lot of risk involved.
So for more information about these products, or to refer to these materials, which will be posted on our website, here's our contact information. I am Cheryl DiPaolo. There's my phone number, 845-458-7462. Or C. DiPaolo, CDEPAOLO, at familyservicesny.org. You can find our materials at ulsterpreventioncouncil.org. And certainly remember to like us on Facebook. We post a lot of new materials, not only about research, but activities and anything related to substance abuse prevention for youth in Ulster County. So thank you for joining us and for learning about these concentrates, and we'll be back again soon.